Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillah. In the previous video, we are discussing about the idea of this transforming generation that we have to nurture and develop for the ummah to come from the depths of our woes and our degradation to become achievers in life. So if we want to become achievers in life, we must understand how we are going to mold our positive feelings and emotion towards ourselves, our family, this deen, and towards all humanity. So I have explained this in the previous video, how our feelings and emotion affects our four rims of existence, our ruh, our qalb, our akal, our jasad, the SEMP, and how we nurture, we transcend from the living in fear to living in hope and finally living in love. So, and how we can develop this idea of Islam as a bringer of good news, Bashirah, to all humanity. I also have explained to you that if we are going to nurture this transforming generation, we must bring us from the depths of our woe now. We are right here. So for 800 years, we are the civilization that brought moral values, civilizational values, learning, science, technology, everything that you can imagine that made this 21st century possible was from the Muslims. But for the last 300 years, we have been degrading, and we seem to be at this lowest point now. So we create this new idea of a transforming generation, a new generation of young people who are achievers in life, awesome in their thinking, doing, acting in the way of bringing this deen back to the path of success and fulfillment. And now we are feeling the idea of this civilization that is also in crisis because of greed, of materialism, of secularism, of hedonistic lifestyle, of meaningless in life, of so many things that we are facing, and how we Muslims can be the forerunner of a new civilization that is going to be the civilization for all humanity, inshallah. And I have explained to you in details how the conflict between positive values and negative values affects our thinking and our emotion. So as I mentioned, if we live in hate, then our emotion will be the emotion of hate, revenge, and self-righteousness. And this is the biggest disease in the Muslim Ummah. I have given you an example of our brother who grown up in Saudi Arabia, who was from the day he went to school to the madrasa right until university, where he became a specialist in comparative religion, label all Shia Muslims as kafir. Immediately out of his mouth and come out, you talk about the Shia, oh, these are kafir. And also immediately after his mouth, if you talk about those who have mazhab, for example, I'm from the Shafi'i mazhab, we live in Nusantara, all of us are Shafi'i. Oh, you all are all Ahlul Bid'ah. And if you talk about our brothers who are following the Sufi path, they are deviant and mostly kafir. So this idea of hate, revenge, and self-righteousness was nurtured in this brother since the day he was in school. So the moment he goes into the school, the primary school, the madrasa, the university in Saudi Arabia, he has this idea of Wahhabism as the only path, one and only path, the only righteous path, and all other paths are deviant or kafir. And this is the biggest problem we are facing in the Ummah, because the same ideology is being exported to IS in Europe, in Syria, in Egypt, in many places of the world, the Taliban movement, and so many places, Boko Haram and so on, where they have no idea of the great depth of the civilization of Islam and the great depth of the contribution of the great ulama, the great imam, from Imam Maliki to Imam Shafi'i to Imam Hujjatul Islam, Imam Ghazali, and so on. So what we need to do is now to bring this transforming generation that has universal values. So we must transcend these negative feelings. This is very important, because unless we can do that, then forever we Muslims will be in conflict. Alright? We will forever be always thinking, I am right, you are wrong, so I kill you. That is one of the worst things that we ever can do as an ummah, because in the 21st century we are talking about an open society. Everything is based on the internet, freedom of expression, freedom of worldview, and we cannot defend our stand, nor can we embrace the world to become a deen of love, peace and happiness. If that is the case, then we have to start with ourselves. Not because I hate our brothers who are Wahhabis. They have every right to be Wahhabis, but they must mold their understanding that Wahhabism is not the only path to Jannah. There is this broad-based usul fiqh that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has endowed upon our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, endowed upon the Sahabas, Tabi'in, Tabi'in, and all the way to the great Imams of the four schools of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and even to our brothers, whether they are Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah or whether they are Shia, whether they are from any splinter group, as long as they say the kalimah La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, we embrace them and accept them, and we can have dialogues, we can have different meetings among the scholars. Let it be, because this is an issue that we have to fully realize that we can transcend it. So how to transcend it? This is where we Muslims must embrace the universal values of one, mutual respect. We must have mutual respect. That means if I meet a brother who is not of the same worldview as myself, he is a Muslim brother. He may be from another tradition. He may be a Wahhabi follower. I am Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, a Shafi'i follower. We can discuss, we can talk, we can be brothers, we can embrace, we can have love based on mutual respect. I don't call him a kafir, neither should he call me a kafir. The same thing, that brother also should not call our Shia brother a kafir. If you continue doing that, this issue of 1,000 years of enmity between the Sunni and Shia cannot be resolved. So what we have to learn now in this 21st century is first embrace mutual respect within the Ummah. Okay, first mutual respect within the Ummah. Then it is the universal values that we talk about of all humanity. Okay, and all creatures on earth. Okay, so what is important for this younger generation? Let us be more positive in our outlook. We can differ, we can have differences, but let us embrace the model of love, the model of peace, the model of happiness, the model of mutual respect, and we then develop this feeling of caring for every Muslimin, Muslimat, every child, every person who has already embraced this deen, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. We have 1.7 billion of us in this world now. How are we going to care for each other? How are we going to alleviate the suffering of our brothers and sisters in Syria, in many places in the world? Because that is the feeling that we must have. Regardless of whatever is their mazhab or their viewpoint, we must bring them together and feel the need for us to care for them. And the same thing, when we talk about mutual respect, we talk about within Islam, we talk about all humanity, mutual respect for all the creatures on this good earth, so that we don't destroy the ecological balance, we don't cause climate change, we don't cause the temperature of this earth to go, and then finally more than 3 billion of human beings might die in a runaway ecological disaster. The same thing, when we talk about care, we care, starting with ourselves, our family, our community, expanding it to caring all humanity, regardless where they come from, with love and mutual respect. And then we can then develop peace. So this whole idea is this positive transforming generation that inshallah through this work, positive Islamic psychology, we are trying to promote. This is our humble little effort, and inshallah if Allah wills, then we will train many practitioners of positive Islamic psychology throughout the world. Join us. And then some of you may want to become coach, life coach in terms of positive Islamic psychology in the 4 areas we are talking about: child achievers, all right, youth achievers in this transforming generation, corporate training and achievers in the corporate world, so that we Muslims can then own big conglomerates and companies that can change, effect a positive worldview on the earth, on this earth and in this humanity and this 21st century. And also community achievers, how we're going to achieve and develop a community of believers living in peace and harmony with all human beings, all community, all living forms, that Allah has ordained to exist in this world. So it is very important that for us we start from within first, because within the ummah we learn to live, to love one another, to care for one another, and then expand it outward. And when we expand it outward, this mutual respect must include, for example, our other brothers and sisters. They may embrace different religion. Allah has ordained that this religion their religion may exist. As for example, the Christians, we have the Jews, we have the Hindus, we have the Buddhists, we have the New Age. We have so many people that if we begin to have a useful and meaningful feelings of love, care, mutual respect, we will then be able to make this world good, helping others to be good, making ourselves good, helping others to be, making this world good as a true and sincere servant, as a Khalifa on this earth, achieving the best, fulfilling the best, receiving the best in the way of Allah, inshallah.